Hey, what's going on everybody? Justin at Salt Strong here in the reel room again, and in today's video I want to take a closer look at the Penn Spinfisher VI. There is a lot to go into with the Spinfisher VI. The Spinfisher name has been around for over a decade, and Penn, that notorious black body and gold spool, all the way back with the SSG series, has been around for a long time. So in this video I hope to do it justice and bring to light the 5 main things I think you need to keep in mind if you're interested in buying a Penn Spinfisher VI. Now, what I want to point out, guys, is you see here on the box, there's like 5 or 6 different languages here on the box. If you're interested in knowing what the drag capacity of this reel is, what the line capacity is, how many bearings are in here, how heavy it is, that's not what this video is for, okay? If you want to find out that information, go over to fishstrong.com. We have that broken down for every single size reel that we offer in our online tackle shop. Instead, this video is going to be a closer look at the features and kind of breaking down what all of these features really mean. What does HT100 mean? What does IPX5 mean? We're going to go a little bit further in depth, so stay tuned. So, with the Spinfisher VI, what are the things you really want to know about this spinning reel? If you're in the market for an inshore spinning reel, you're looking at a lot of things. Yes, you are going to look at drag and line capacity and bearings, and all of those things, those factors that tie into a reel are minimal in the big scheme of things. You want to know, how does the reel perform? How well is it sealed? How smooth is the reel? Some of these things are subjective, but hopefully in explaining the features that this offers, we can talk about both the pros that the Spinfisher offers, as well as the cons that you should consider to be an educated consumer before you buy this reel or any other reel on the market. So to start, the Spinfisher VI is a solid aluminum-bodied reel. The spool, the body itself, it's rock solid. Aluminum reels have pros and cons, right? They are basically uncompromising. They're not going to have any flex here at the handle arm when it's mounted to a rod and you're hooked into a big fish and trying to pull them away from structure. But it is a little bit heavier. We're going to get to that later on. In addition to being a solid metal body, you're going to have what Penn calls, this is probably the easiest reference, their CNC gear technology. Essentially, guys, Penn has started to incorporate CNC gearing, or aluminum main gears meshed with a brass pinion gear, starting with the Battle 3 series upward. And as you go up through the different series, there's going to be different materials used in that main gear and meshing with brass. In the case of the Spinfisher VI, it's an aluminum main gear on a brass pinion. It's rock solid, it's very smooth, it's going to wear very well, the teeth are cut very well. It's just a detailed process, and it's a high quality gearing material that's used right here in the center of the reel. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is this little ditty right here. So Penn is advertising an IPX5 sealed reel. What does that really mean? Well, let's break it down. IP stands for ingress protection, and it's a rating that's given to products to determine how well it's sealed from the environment, from solid particulates and from moisture and liquid. That's why IP comes with 2 numbers afterwards. The first number is how well is the product sealed from physical items, physical solids, and then the next number is how well is it sealed from a liquid standpoint. In the case of a spinning reel, it's IPX because its solids are kind of negligible, right? You're not really worried about rocks and other hard, larger particulate items making its way inside this type of product. But in the case of liquid and moisture, that's what fishermen are really concerned with. So a IPX5 rating really means, if we get down to the nitty-gritty of it, from a certain distance away and at all angles, this product can take jets of water at a certain amount of pressure for a certain period of time and confirm that the internals of the reel are not compromised, that there's not moisture accumulating inside the gearbox. That's essentially what an IPX5 rating means. It's past that standard. In my personal opinion, that's wonderful. That's overkill. For if you're going to be somebody to take splashes and keep a rod in the rod holder in the back of the boat, or you're in a kayak, this is a well-sealed product. It's going to handle the elements much better than other reels that may not have gone through having an IP rating on the reel. All right, we're going to take the spool off the Spinfisher VI, and we're going to take a closer look at what Penn calls their HT100 Drag. What does that really mean, right? What does HT and 100 stand for? So, little story. HT, to the best of my knowledge, stands for high tech. And the 100 is actually what makes this pretty interesting. So back in the 80s, Penn designed a carbon fiber disc drag, and they called it this HT100 because they put it through a pretty rigorous test. They took these carbon fiber disc drags, they put them on a machine, and they ran monofilament line across the machine and engaged the disc drags that are underneath this little washer right here. We're not going to take it out because if you take a look, there's a ton of grease that are used in Penn reels. So that's great. Grease is a good deterrent to salt water and other mineralized deposits that can accumulate there. This is just going to help make sure contents don't get down and compromise the disc drag. But essentially, when they ran this test, they pulled monofilament line for 100 miles, and then they tested the carbon fiber disc drag, and they reported no degradation to the drag itself, to the carbon fiber washers. That's really impressive. I mean, that's really cool. I don't know if any of you guys knew that. I learned that and thought that was interesting to share with everybody. From a carbon fiber versus the traditional felt drag washers that are used in some other reels in the market, carbon fiber is a superior product. When greased well and when designed well, they're going to far outlast a standard felt washer. But in today's market, a lot of companies are starting to incorporate carbon fiber disc drags. They're using their own proprietary grease to help make sure that drag is smooth at startup and smooth under all different amounts of pressure. But Penn really is kind of the originator of that, the carbon fiber disc drag, and the type of grease that they use. As you can see, as I showed you, just really, really thick stuff. It's going to last a long time. It's going to handle friction and heat very well. It's just a tried and true design. All right, so this is something that I look for in any spinning reel before I buy something. I'm going to look at where are seals located throughout the reel. This isn't a teardown video, but you can do this in any tackle shop, right? You want to look to see where preliminary seals are placed throughout a reel. On just about every single company, there's going to be a seal that's basically a plunger that's placed underneath the top of the drag cap. That's going to help make sure that when this drag is engaged and this is compressed down, that's going to create just a physical seal. It's going to help make sure water and solids don't get down past there. And if they do, they're going to get stuck in that grease. But the next thing I'm going to look for is there a seal, and open up this bale, that is holding, or right there where the main shaft traverses and goes up and down. If you take a close look, you're going to see this kind of like brownish red rubber lipped seal in there. If you want to zoom in and take a look at that, that lip seal is going to help make sure water doesn't work its way down the main shaft and to the top of the anti-reverse clutch bearing, which you don't ever want to compromise. That's really important to see, the way that Penn has sealed that off with that rubber lip seal and kind of this rubberized cap over top that's compressed down, holding that seal in place. That's awesome. That's a great feature to see. And then always, I want to see how the handle arm connects into the main gear. This is a direct drive handle, so this is winding and threading directly onto the main gear itself, okay? And you can't really see it because there's a lot of grease, but I see the coloration. There is another bearing behind this threaded piece right here, which is the main gear. There's a sealed bearing back there. Now, that's the final tidbit I want to point out with you guys, is that there are 5 sealed bearings on the Spinfisher VI. There are 2 different types of bearings used. There's shielded ball bearings and there's sealed ball bearings, and they're different from one another. Shielded ball bearings, again, fine for kind of blocking larger particulate matter, but a sealed ball bearing is going to do a much better job at withstanding exposure to liquid and moisture. Again, it's not impenetrable, but it's just a better quality bearing that's used. So in terms of the overall sealing of the reel, not only is the gearbox sealed, top of the drag stack sealed, entryway down the main shaft into where the anti-reverse is going to be housed, and the handle entry point is all sealed very well with perimeter seals and or sealed ball bearings. So with any product review we do, we address both the pros and the cons to remain unbiased. And in truth, there isn't a perfect spinning reel on the market. Some reels by some companies do certain things better than others, and Penn still does fall in that category. Okay, so what are the cons or things to consider with a Spinfisher before you buy it for whatever inshore species you want to target? Well, the first really is weight, okay? And that's a give and take, right? Because the heavier a reel is, the more it's going to weigh on you the longer you fish with it. Now, if you're going to be somebody throwing finesse 3 and 4 inch soft plastics in shallow grassy areas or shallow potholes for redfish, trout, snook, and flounder, can this get the job done? Absolutely. It's a well-sealed reel. It's going to last a long time. But when you take a look at a 2500 size, and we do look at the weight here, we're looking at 10.5 ounces, 10.7 ounces for a 2500 size. When you look at other 2500 size aluminum-bodied reels on the market, there are other aluminum reels that weigh lighter than this, sometimes by 2 ounces lighter, which is substantial if you're fishing all day long for 8 hours in the sun. So you need to take that into consideration. If you're trying to pair this up with a lightweight, finesse-focused rod, 7 foot, 7'6", medium power, fast action, throwing little soft plastics, sight fishing, for example, if the weight doesn't bother you, perfectly fine. But I know that a lot of anglers that do the research will see that like for like 2500 size compared to others on the market, you can get weight savings in an equivalent product. And the final con to consider from my perspective is fluidity or smoothness. But that's subjective, right? Because smoothness to an angler varies on the type of fishing that you're doing. As I mentioned before, if you're an artificial focused angler and you're fishing shallow water settings and you want to feel the movement of your paddle tail and you want to have ever so precise movements and you just want that refined finesse feel, this might not be the best option for you. If you're going to be somebody throwing a live bait out back behind the boat or the kayak, or soaking a dead bait, or throwing a bigger soft plastic, 5 to 7 inches, this is a great option because a solid aluminum body and an aluminum main gear is going to be able to keep up with that type of fishing. But there are other reels that feel more finesse in hand, not just because they're lighter, but because the way that the reel is assembled, where the seals are included throughout the reel, and how much grease is used and where that grease is put is going to affect how smooth that reel feels with or without a lure on it or under a load. Now, the trade-off is that this is a very well sealed reel. All of these perimeter seals and grease will make the reel feel not as smooth as another 2500 by another company. But again, I think that's subjective. I think you should get your hands on a bunch of different options and make that decision for yourself. So what are my final thoughts on the Spinfisher VI? Well, I think it's a rock solid aluminum bodied reel that is sealed very well. If you are rough on your gear and you want something to last a long time and you're not so much worried about the finesse aspect of working small soft plastics in shallow water settings, this might be a great option for you. The Spinfisher VI comes in a 2500 size all the way up to a 7500 size, about 170 bucks to about $230, $240 and change. We do have a lot of different options in our online tackle shop, fishstrong.com, if you guys are interested. And if you're an insider member in our club, we're gonna give you free braided line, we're gonna spool it for you, and you're gonna get free shipping. So one less thing to worry about. Once you get your reel, pop it on a rod and go fish. You got a lot of different pound sizes to choose from and different colors and flavors to load your reel so you can sport your braid. So guys, I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions about a Spinfisher VI, if you've used one yourself and had a great experience with it, or anything you wanna know, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you guys and start the discussion. Otherwise, I hope to see you on the water soon.